The moon hung high and bright. I stepped into its light and walked toward the gleaming arch along a winding sidewalk being sprinkled by a watering system. Staying on the path, I was baptized once by the sprinklers, then a second time. And right away, my ego got attached to the idea of a third sprinkling, an echo of my Trinitarian upbringing, I'm sure. But I quickly surmised that I would have to go out of my way towards a distant sprinkler, and I wanted to keep my focus on my natural progression toward the arch. I felt powerfully related to the expansive opening that it was. As I approached it, I positioned myself in the center of it, with the apex of the arch soaring above my head at 630 feet. Similar to my experience of floating effortlessly on the Dead Sea in Israel more than a decade before, I knew that though there was no one nearby physically, I wasn't there just for myself. On the Dead Sea, I knew I was there for my ancestors, and particularly my grandparents, Lucy and Eddie Sr., and Arcola and Willie, who confessed a faith that originated in that part of the world, but never had the opportunities that had fallen into my lap, like being invited to go on a religious press tour to the cradle of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. At the Gateway Arch at its center, I was on the threshold of leaving behind the past and entering into a whole new realm of possibilities for myself and the congregation I served at the time, which was in the midst of a leadership crisis. I looked to my left and to my right and thought of as many congregant spaces and names as I could, but with the sense that we were all there in a single line that stretched from one end of the arch to the other. We were holding hands, just as we did every week at the close of the service. The sky was starting to lighten as we waited for the dawn. And in my spirit, I knew that this was it. Once we passed through the threshold, all the confusion, all the drama and strife that many had experienced in the preceding months would be over, done, finished, complete. Not that it would always feel that way, or look or sound that way, but it was a kind of knowing that was independent of any outward perception. I was grateful to receive this message and the gift of belonging to a community where I knew that kind of deep healing was possible. I wanted some kind of sign that it was true, that the time to let go of the past was indeed now. Some nod of agreement from the universe, out of the stars even. And then I heard a loud spitting noise. It was the sprinkler system coming on. Because then the heads began to rotate, and where I was positioned centrally under the arch, I got swept by one from my front on the right, and by another one coming from the rear to my left. I shed my soaked t-shirt and felt the chill of that water with great awe and amazement. I felt like I was dreaming and being dreamed at the same time. It was one of those miraculous occasions when the big S self has bypassed the blocks of my ego to reveal something profound. Then an alarm in the distance went off. The bells at the cathedral started to chime. The casino billboard across the street flashed, 5:30, 5:30, 5:30. All in agreement, all at once. I was still getting doused when from downwards towards the steps, about 60 feet in front of me, emerged a group of 5 young adults walking in my direction, looking like many of our Unitarian Universalist young adults. They had gotten the idea at midnight to drive about 4 or 5 hours so that they could be at the arch at dawn. And they passed through going opposite the direction that I had approached the arch from. When the sprinkler stopped, I was sopping wet and shivering. As the sun ascended above the trees in the distance, I imagined all of my beloved congregants with me as I stepped through the arch with my arms stretched out on both sides. I stood by the banks of the river and looked out onto a new day, grateful that I had sought a larger context that morning. I invite you today and every day of your life to look beyond your immediate circumstances, to the expansiveness and possibility that arches over us at all times and in all places. I invite you to be the breath of life in the world. I invite you to be bigger as souls travel together to make our world better and to see what it means to be beloved community. And so it is.